We move now from pisco to tea, one of the biggest specialists in the world of heritage and hospitality, the cultures of tea in Europe. Soon there will be more than Europe, because Hartwig Bohne has been working on the entire world. In this book you find from silver pots in Britain to tulip glasses in Turkey. So everything about the art of welcoming people, the quiet power of tea. Thank you so much, Hartwig, for being with us today in such an important country for the history of tea.
So, ladies and gentlemen, friends, gourmands, let's talk about tea. It's in the afternoon and we are in Portugal, so it is an option for us to speak about tea cultures in Europe. You may ask, why is a German coming and not speaking about beer or coffee? Well, I'm speaking about tea because I love tea. I'm coming from a region and I grew up with a family tradition. The tradition is drinking strong black tea. So I transferred this tradition and, let's say, the idea of analyzing and doing research in my professional life. Okay, so that's me. In one of my tea lectures, tea lessons, how to brew tea, how to enjoy tea. That's the idea of tea cultures. Coming from Dresden, so a city between Berlin and Prague, we do a lot of hospitality, but one part for me, of course, is doing tea lectures and afternoon tea. So let's talk about tea. If you see this staircase is in one of the nicest hotels of Germany. Fortunately, I started my professional career in this hotel serving tea before starting my academic career. And if we speak about tea, then we speak about tea. We don't speak about herbal, fruit, ginger, or hot lemon. We speak about tea, and tea means everything what is coming from Camellia sinensis. And for this, we only have 6 types of tea: green, yellow, white, oolong, black, and pu'er. 6 types of tea following a certain procedure of oxidation or fermentation following the Camellia sinensis. And if we are speaking about tea in Europe, and my book is about tea culture and Europe, we're speaking about 16 countries with tea plantations in Europe. Did you know that in Switzerland there are tea plantations? Or in Sweden? In Portugal? Also in Germany we have tea plantations. Not as big as in India, not as big as in Sri Lanka, but we have tea plantations. The 3 UNESCO-listed World Heritage Awards are in Europe: East Frisia since 2016, Turkey and Azerbaijan. The 4th award, or the 4th listing of the UNESCO, is the Chinese tea culture, by the way. And there's a title of world record holders in tea drinking for the people of East Frisia. East Frisia, by the way, is a part of Germany in the northwest, on the border to the Netherlands. And if you see some countries where tea is seen as a national symbol, a national pride, then of course the UK, Turkey and Azerbaijan are the 3 most important countries in Europe. So let's talk about European tea cultures. If we see the international list of tea cultures, 12, maybe 14 tea cultures are important or with a very strong reputation. 4 of them are part of the listing of UNESCO World Heritage. And for Europe, the most important ones are certainly the British tea heritage, not UNESCO listed. Why? Because the British didn't apply. And the UNESCO is a very formal institution. You have to apply for listing, and then the UNESCO is evaluating your culture. The others applied, so the East Frisians applied, and you see one cultural element of East Frisian tea culture. The special porcelain and the special blue-white pattern of teaware. So if you stick to a very traditional tea ceremony, then you have to use this porcelain, and you have to brew a special East region tea blend, at least with 50% of Assam tea, so a very strong one. And East regions drink up to 6 times a day, up to 3 cups per person, this black tea. So if you are a tea drinker, you can imagine if you are a coffee drinker, you should try 6 times a day, up to 3 cups of strong black tea. Then you will forget the effects of coffee, because you will see the intensity of black tea. The second UNESCO listed in Europe is Azerbaijan, and there you see already one cultural difference. They use glasses and no porcelain for drinking tea, and they don't need a handle. So also the development of teaware, tea porcelain, tea glasses, is connected to the cultural development of tea in Europe. The third one, the Turkish tea culture. By the way, Turkey is the only country worldwide where the tea culture and the coffee culture has been listed by the UNESCO. So it's a very special country because both hot beverages are well known and part of the national pride of Turkish people. What are the characteristics if we evaluate European tea cultures? Well, we can speak for more than an hour about teaware, why they use glasses, why they use porcelain. Which are the typical sorts of tea, and in Europe, most of the tea cultures are based on black tea, in comparison to the green tea cultures, mostly to be found in Asia. Which environment do we like? So how do we decorate our surrounding, our living room, our tea room for this? The sweetening varieties, or do we prefer salty things? All these small items and all these ideas are part of a cultural development in different countries. And there are special impacts also on tourism, but also on entrepreneurs. For example, Wedgwood or Bauscher Porcelain, they started their business because tea got more and more attractive for people. In addition, if you see tea gardens, the tradition of Turkish tea gardens, for example, this is also an effect of the reputation of tea. So tea cultures are seen as cultural ambassadors for national pride, for national development, and also for a certain development of binding people to their region. So it's much more than only a drink. Also, if you take the big tea brands, Lipton, Ronnefeld, or others, they are based, or their business success is based on the simple idea of selling tea, or let's say on the trade of tea from Asia to Europe. And if you see this idea of a social anchor, this is much more than only brewing tea or offering tea. This is a very cultural and social function of this hot beverage. In addition, if you have the time and you can visit tea museums, you will see lots of varieties, teaware, tea gardens, tea rooms, tea decorations, or how tea plant, for example, or Indian elephants as symbols of India, but also used as symbols for trading tea. There are lots of possibilities to transfer cultural development into the daily life of many people. So what's the conclusion? There are holistic aspects of tea. Tea is a hot beverage. Tea brings people together. And tea needs time. Tea is not a to-go product. Of course, you can take a to-go tea, but then I'm sure it's not a very good quality. So there's a big difference for all the F&B operations in hotels and restaurants. So tea needs time, and tea offers time to those who are sitting together. Tea can be brewed in a family environment, but also if you go to nice hotels, they offer the afternoon tea as a tea event, as a food and beverage event. So it's kind of a hospitality moment to invite guests, to host people for tea, cake, cookies, whatever you like. In addition, you can use tea, the symbols of tea, for decorating. And there are only a few, but if you see old tea companies, for example, old tea factories transferred into hotels, that's very nice. Or if you see the tea museums, and then you can see the long tradition of tea, tea culture, tea trade, and the binding elements for the people. So these elements and these keywords are part of my book. More than 500 pages, and I'm very proud that during the COVID pandemic, it was good for us. Us means nearly 50 co-authors. We were sitting at home drinking tea, and we were connected online, writing nearly 4 years on this book. And we spoke about tea-ware, tea gardens. National tea reports are in this book about tea in Poland, tea in Sweden, tea in Denmark, tea in Germany, in Austria, Switzerland. So many interesting aspects that till today I like this book and I love reading, because for me tea is much more than only a cup of tea. It's my daily life and part of an attitude. So while there's tea, there's hope, because you need it and we all can profit from drinking more tea. Thank you very much. And if you like to know more about tea, there's a special institute for tea cultures of Europe. And if you like to read this wonderful tea book, it's on one of the tables upstairs. Thank you very much. Enjoy your tea.